Wait patiently for that season. We will reap, friends. There's nothing that good happened to you, really. There's a good season coming. Wait. You know for sure there is a season, a time for everything. Your time of reaping is coming. It is coming. It might be tomorrow itself. It might be the day after tomorrow. It might be before the year ends. But it also might be in the new year. That's your season of reaping. So don't give up. Move. Get moving. Keep moving ahead. Keep moving ahead. Keep growing. Keep growing in the Lord. Prepare. And he says, therefore, preparing your mind in 1 Peter 1:13. Preparing your minds for action. Yes, don't be still there, but prepare yourself for action. Anything can happen. And I'm ready to act on what God will tell me. Prepare, 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 prepare. For your future is better. Your future is greater. Your future is better. Prepare for action. What does he finish saying? Prepare for action. Preparing your minds for action. You see, I normally talk to your mind. Oh, my soul and my mind, because the soul and the mind is interconnected. I normally speak to my soul. Soul, hear the word of the Lord. You shall rise up. Even when I'm lower, I speak to that mind. Oh, rise up. When I feel discouraged, I speak to it. May God help you move strongly even into that. Hey, hey. So he says, prepare your minds for action and being sober-minded. Set your hope. Oh, set your hope. What? Fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Set your mind, prepare your mind, be sober, and set your hope fully on the grace. There is a grace for you. A grace for you for the season of God. Come with that grace to mount you up to move to the next level. It is a season. There is a season of grace. Tell your neighbor there is a season of grace coming your way. Meaning you don't deserve it, but it will come anyway. You don't deserve it, but it will come. That season is coming. Friends, it is coming. But Pastor, I have waited this year. Relax. There is a season of grace. It might have come to someone else. Your season of grace is coming your way. Don't still just be there. Prepare your mind for an action of the direction that God will be giving. That is the way we can move strongly. Friends, I want to let you know that there is a power. 2 Peter 1:3. His divine power has granted to us all things that pertain to life and godliness through the knowledge of him who called us to his glory and excellence. Yes, there is something that we can move on. So, action point for this year, these moments, seek God even more in your setbacks. One action point, encourage yourself in your setbacks. And the action point is keep moving ahead after your setbacks. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Christmas Day will come. Christmas Day will go. Keep moving. Christmas Day may have no dress. Christmas Day may have no shoe. Christmas Day may have nothing but Christ himself. Keep moving in him. Christmas Day may have no mbuzi choma. It may have no kuku either, but keep moving from him. It may have no chapo. Keep moving in him. It may have no meal or meat. Keep moving because you have the best of all is the Christmas person himself, the person of Jesus. Therefore, cheer yourself up that even though I may not have, but I know I have you, Lord. I have you, Lord. I have you. I have you. I want us to pray. Remember, I have taken my time. Praise God. And I want you to pray for your neighbor. Amen. So please, you can move nearer your neighbor or where you can feel a brother or a sister. I want you to pray for your neighbor. You hold their hands. your father's sake. The father pointed Isaac to God. There are some of us who God might even say, for the sake of the things and the weird things your daddy did, I will punish you. It is called a curse. How will you remove yourself from there? Is when you embrace God. You embrace God. So he says, for the sake of your father. But some of us, we may not have any sake that our fathers did. He says in verse 25. So he built an altar. Realize it is now him. It is Isaac himself building an altar. This is an altar which is his own altar, not the altars of his fathers. He built his own altar. He is erecting a worship life, putting a foundation of his own, a foundation of worshiping the Lord. There are times you have to build and to set a foundation for yourself. Not anymore ridiculing what your daddy did dig, but actually doing a foundation which you have purpose to set yourself in life. This is what he's doing. He actually did an altar himself. And he called on the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servant dug a well, not ridiculing. He dug a well, a new, brand new well. So if you have nothing good to remember about your daddy, about your mom, about anyone, your spiritual father or spiritual dad, they might have not been the best, but you can actually set the example to be the best. Hello? You can set an example to be. You can actually begin your own well. You can dig a brand new well. You can. That's what you need to know. If you have nothing to remember about mommy, about daddy, nothing to remember about your past, where you were born, you can actually begin your journey to remembrance, setting a new foundation. You can. Verse 26, then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzat, one of his friends, and Phicol, the commander of his army. And Isaac said to them, why have you come to me since you hate me and have sent me away from you? But they said, we have certainly seen that the Lord is with you. Aha. They actually saw that God was with Isaac. And what they lay there now, they said, be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you. Verse 29, that you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, and since we have done nothing to you, but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. Realize people who rejected him, who hated him, who didn't entertain him, who are not there for him. They are the ones turning around and saying, now, hey, we know that God is with you. And they say, let's put a covenant. Let's make a covenant now. Then verse 20, verse 30. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Verse 31. Then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Wow. Realize this. Then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. Covenant remind us they are always good in the morning. A time of going on the altar, it is often early in the morning. It's always the best time. A time of ordering your day, always is always better in the morning. A time of setting a foundation for your day is always good in the morning. You have heard this many times. Is commanding your day. Is always in the morning, good in the morning. I'm not saying you cannot speak to it in the day. You can. But it is always best in the morning. I'm not saying you pray only early in the morning and you don't pray in the day. No. I'm saying it is always good to begin in the morning. For this Bible says, pray without ceasing. It's good. He does the covenant in the morning. He cuts the covenant in the morning. That's a moment of rising up and actually connecting with God in covenant relation. And then he sent them away. Verse 32, and it came to pass the day that Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, we have found water. So he called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of this city is Beersheba, which is there to this day. When Esau was 40 years, we read, he took as a wife Judith, the daughter of Beryl, the Hittite, and Basmath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and they were grief of mind to Isaac and Rebekah. Those are particularly for the young people. You realize he moves over, he breaks from what we know, he goes to totally a new thing. He's talking about the issue of family. But I will not focus on that. Let's go. Let's just read somehow in brief also, just for the sake of sharing briefly, in 1 Samuel chapter 30. 1 Samuel 30. If you are there, 30 it says. I'll read. You will read from verse 1 all the way to 20, but I will read as we jump from one place to another. Let's read there together. You can follow. Now it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag, and on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag attacked Ziklag and burned it with the fire. And he had taken captive the women and those who were there, for small to great. They did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was burned with fire. And their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept. And wept. Until they had no more power to weep. When men weep to a point that they actually lose the power to weep anymore, it means it was a real powerful whip. It was a real powerful whip. And David's two wives, Ahinoam and Jezreelites, the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal, the Carmelite, had been taken captive. Now, David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Verse 8. So David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Verse 16, and when he had brought him down there, they were spread out over all the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. And David attacked them from twilight until the evening of the next day. Not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. So David recovered all that Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his two wives. And nothing of theirs was lacking, either small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything which they had taken from them. David recovered all. Then David took all the flocks and herds they had driven before those other livestock, and said, this is David's spoil. Wonderful. So, Pastor, what are you talking about? All this time you have been talking, but what are you saying really? I'm just letting you know that it is possible for you to be here. And you wonder, when people are counting the victories of the year, when people are counting the joys of the year, when people are rejoicing in the joys and victories they have obtained, when people are seeing and counting the successes and the breakthroughs of the year, you are wondering, hey, what about me? And what about me really? And it's like you have nothing. You might be here and you feel repossessing, recovering. And there's nothing you have recovered, nothing you have repossessed, nothing you even redact or did dig. Nothing. What should we be? Remember what we have said. The title is actually the need to be resilient even this year of ridiculing and repossessing. Resilience. What is resilience? To be resilient in English, it means the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. Someone who is resilient is someone who has the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly, not sluggishly, but quickly, swiftly, from difficult times and from hardships, from toughness, from pain, from sorrow. It is you having the capacity to withstand, but not just to withstand, but also to recover quickly towards the direction in which you want to take. Is the capacity. But also resilience, it means the ability of a substance or a person or an object to bring back into shape. Or it is called in physics elasticity. You remember the rubber band? It can stretch, but it can go back to its normal size again. So the ability to stretch and go back to the normal again is what we can call what? Resilience. In simple terms, it is actually having the ability after the setbacks to swing back again into your comeback towards the direction that you have to take. It is, if you want, as I talk, some of you in your mind, you can even ponder on wonderful topics. After every setback, there is the ability for you for a comeback. After every setback in your life, God has wired within you. God has put the capability within you. He has put his potential within you to actually swing into a comeback of victory, a comeback of success, a comeback of flowing in your destiny, a comeback of pursuing your dreams again, a comeback of following your vision, a comeback of moving forward, and a literal flow in the direction that God will instruct you. There is a power within you for a comeback. There is an ability within you to flow and move to the destination and move to the direction and move to the way that you actually dream of and the way which you are envisioning. After every setback, if you feel this year had many setbacks for you, even though we are saying repossessing, you had nothing to repossess. Even though we are saying you redig, you had no place to redig because there's no digging in the first place. I want to let you know that's not the end of everything. But Pastor, the year is ending. Yes, even if it is ending, I tell you, there is a future ahead of you. You should not focus on the ending of the year. Your timing may not be my timing, neither God's timing. God has what the time which is ripe for everything. There is what we call the timing of God, which is not your timing, which may not be my timing, but it is His timing. The reason why He's called the eternal God is because for Him, years, the way we count them, they mean nothing according to that time of eternity. We count on earth 12 months. For Him, it's not about that. In fact, He calls 1 year, He says it's like a day to Him. Actually, not 1 year. 1,000 years. It's like 1 day. Now, that's strange. It blows our mind up. That 1,000 years is like 1 day for the Lord, and a day for the Lord is like 1,000 years. That means in His eternal ability, His eternal nature, He's not really about the years we have. But Pastor, I am not God. And actually, you are never God. I am never to be God, and I will never be. And I want to encourage you, don't dare be God. Because you won't. Recently, I've been reading through Ezekiel. And there's a king of Tyre. Tyre is in the Mediterranean coast where the war is raging now. Tyre is the Gaza side of the Mediterranean. That's where, towards Lebanon. And that's where the king of Tyre was making timber, putting them in the sea, floating them to River Jordan to build the temple in Jerusalem. Now, Tyre, the king was wealthy. It was a merchandising nation, a business tycoon, and the people were wealthy, very wealthy. The king himself was wealthy. And this king thought he is God. So he began saying, I am God. And God sent Ezekiel, the prophet, and said, tell him that even if he says he's God, tell him he will never be. And he is not. And tell him to prove that he is not. I'm sending an army that will capture him, and that day he will know he is not God. Boss, there are people who can be surrounded with wealth, who can be surrounded with power, who can be surrounded with abundance, who can be surrounded with people praising them and glorifying them and talking good of them. And these people, if they're not careful, normally, power enters their heads. Michael Kijana wa Malwa one time said, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there are people who can be intoxicated with the power and wealth to a point that they have no reference for God, they have no need for God, they have no appetite for God, and they have nothing to seek God for. And they begin priding themselves. I'm in need of nothing. I don't need any help. I don't need anything. And so for me, why should I seek God? Yet even in our midst, there could be people who actually have nothing. They are poor, but they are prideful to a point of thinking that we don't need God. I want to let you know, in reiterating the words of God himself in Ezekiel, chapter 30, 31, and 33. I want to let you know That even if you pride yourself, one, you'll never be God. Two, you are not. And three, you are a man, and in that case, a very weak man. To a point that you need God. So over here, I want you to be aware that the truth is we need to have resilience. The good thing about the God of the universe who created everything, including you and me, it is that he has given us the power to swing back after every setback. He has given us power to swing back after every setback in our lives. I want to let you know, friends, we will have a comeback. Friends, we are strong. Friends, God is strengthening you. That though we may seem like having nothing, but actually we have our sufficiency in God himself. People might feel, okay, what will I eat for Christmas? I don't even need to eat anything anyway for it to be Christmas for me. I need just to have the Prince of Christmas himself. It is enough for me. Oh, but you see, yesterday I was coming towards this church, our church, and I met some people near the Treat Hotel, some women. So I stopped and I said, hey, I'm welcoming you. You look nice. But they were not looking nice because they were dirty. But somehow they are nice. Why? They are created of God. So I said, hey, I never said even you look nice anyway. I said, you are wonderful people. They said, for what? And they say, after all, it's Christmas season. And they said, now, Christmas, for what? Give us money now, if it's Christmas. And I told them, who told you Christmas is about money? They say, okay, you tell us now we celebrate Christmas without money. What do you want us to celebrate about? And I told them, now, I welcome you. If you have nothing to eat, come on Monday. We will have a service, even from 10 in the morning. Come, and we will eat Christmas together, because there will be something for us to eat together. And they laughed. And I also laughed. People have different ideas about Christmas. Friend, even if there is nothing to eat, you, it is Christmas. Do you always eat cake during your birthday? Some of you have never been celebrated, even for a birthday alone. In fact, some of you have no idea about the birthday. I also was there anyway. It was until I'm of age, the way I am, that you have celebrated a birthday. I also had it for the first time in this church. Don't worry. The reality is, whether they celebrate or you don't, you have no idea. Whether Christmas, the issue is this season is not about eating and drinking. It is about embracing the King of Glory and realigning your life even in God, and literally thanking God that he thought about you by sending his only begotten Son to die on your place instead of you. In fact, you are actually supposed to be hanged on a tree. You and me, we are supposed to be hung. When you think about your failures this year, when you think about your rebellion this year, when you think about your unbelief this year, when you think about your hatred this year, when you think about your unforgiveness this year, when you think about the failures you have heard before God, you never measured up. So the issue, the best judgment is you to be hanged. But instead of you being hanged, God released a gift in Jesus. And he said, this man, Thomas, and Tony should not be hanged. This man, Steve, should not be hanged. Instead, let him be saved from hang. You should celebrate it even better. Because instead of your place of being hanged, you are given a blessing of a son who is no longer a baby. He is a judge. And he is a mighty King of kings, powerful in splendor and glorious in stature. He came for you. But this Jesus, who came as a young boy in that place, is now the King of kings. He has put the ability of you being resilient in the hardships that we face in life for you to make it count in life. There is a resilience in you. If you think about Isaac, he had enough trouble. Number one, he was experiencing rejection. Isaac, yes, rejected by the neighbors in that land. Isaac was rejected. Number two, he experienced conflict. Whatever he could do in ridiculing, they could come and literally cover it up. He was surrounded by enemies. Every time he could even begin a project of continuing where his father left, they could come and snatch it away from him. He had trouble. This Isaac, where we read in Genesis 26. The land was barren. That very time, there was famine, enough trouble. The land had no rain. That time, it was dry. The guy and the land was barren. But also himself, he was experiencing barren circumstances. A barren wife, and no child, and barren man, and no kindred. Yet God is talking to him the language of saying, you will be a father of many nations. There were circumstances contrary to Isaac. His wife was barren. The land was barren. He was experiencing rejection. The circumstances around were barren. Whatever the work he could do, it was to be redone and be destroyed. It was barren. He had conflict with neighbors. He experienced rejection. In fact, it is someone who said, I deserve to be pushed aside, forgotten, rejected, and abandoned. Self-rejection is the greatest enemy of the spiritual life because it contradicts the sacred voice that calls us the beloved. He said, Father, being the beloved constitutes the core truth of our existence. I am good at walking away. Rejection teaches you how to reject the rejection itself. Have you felt this year that somehow some people rejected you? Have you feel like circumstances that you meant for you rejected you? Have you feel like there was possibly you are a young man that possibly you are rejected by someone you thought it could lead for marriage? Or could you possibly think as a student that some subjects and things never worked for you and it was so heavy for you? Are you? Are you there and you feel like the work of your hands was literally, it never blossomed, meaning it rejected you? I want to let you know, you can learn something in rejection. Is you can learn how to reject it yourself. That's the greatest thing you can reject. Rejection. It is you. You cannot be able to learn to reject it if you have never experienced rejection. But if you have experienced it and you reject it by rising up above it and walking into your great destiny, then you have the power of resilience, the ability to reject rejection so that you can come back and flow to the destination that God has wired you for. May the Lord help you to rise up against every rejection in your life. May the Lord favor you for this season to reject any aspect of people who are throwing rejection to you. May you learn to reject That steps and those steps of rejection. Why? For you to rise up and get moving, you'll have to learn how to reject every trace of rejection. Somebody again said rejection is more valuable than inaction. All that I have learned until now has been because of rejections. Inaction didn't teach me anything. No, but rejection taught me something. You know, when you talk to young people, they say, you know, I want also to be loved. Not even young people, even you, the old ones, including myself. I want to be loved. I want to be celebrated. I want to be honored and respected. I want just to flow. That one is one. It's just a celebration. I want us to learn to literally appreciate every bit that God wants you to learn.